All right, good evening, class.
Good evening, Professor.
Good evening, Mr. Knowles. We're over halfway through with this course. Just 3 more days. You just gotta put up with me for 3 more days, and then you'll have to deal with this guy.
I get to do it.
That guy. And who knows how that'll go.
But I'm sorry in advance. Y'all have to have Aiden too, so I'm apologizing.
I apologize as well. That sucks.
This is when Aiden's first finding out about it. He's like, what?
Today we're going to be doing conveyance and title, how title to a property is actually conveyed. We have a good amount of stuff to cover, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Our learning objectives for the evening. List the basic requirements for a valid deed. We're going to describe the most important or the most common types of deeds. We'll illustrate how transfer tax may be assessed on a conveyance of property. And we'll explain how property may be transferred through voluntary. Yes, ma'am?
I have part of lecture.
You have one?
Part of it.
She doesn't have the whole thing.
Well, I don't have any, so.
Do you want some?
Do you have the full one?
Packet here.
Let me see.
Let me see.
The printer was not.
I'll take care of
It
that.
was not cool
You
today.
keep
Yeah.
going. You keep going.
I sent it to one printer and it printed the both.
Is it the 3 pages?
I think it's only 2. Front and back should be only 2.
You have the other half. Yours aren't front.
You
The
might.
last slide should be public records.
We'll explain how property may be transferred through voluntary and involuntary alienation, including a discussion of adverse possession. We'll explain the difference in someone dying testate and dying intestate, which we talked about that a little bit, and the effect on potential heirs. We'll review the legal requirements for making a will, and we'll identify the purpose and procedures of probate. We'll also explain the importance of recording documents in the public records and describe constructive and actual notice. And we'll also distinguish between chain of title and abstract of title. We'll review the process and purpose of a title search and discuss ways to show proof of ownership. Lastly, we will compare what is included in title insurance policies. Okay, so title. How is title actually transferred? Remember we talked about this before. A title is transferred through a deed because it's real property. Real property is transferred through a deed. And personal property is transferred through a receipt. So just a little refresher there. There's the right of ownership and evidence of that ownership. And that would be what title is. The first one we're going through is voluntary alienation. And what is the first word there, Ms. Vita? Voluntary. And when you volunteer something, you agree to do it. So it's going to be transferring title through your choosing. The other one we're going to cover is involuntary, which you can probably guess. You lose your property without your consent. But the grantor is the one that's actually selling the property, and the grantee is the one buying the property. So it's a voluntary transfer of title by sale or gift. Deeds conveyed on the property from the grantor to the grantee. Grantee, seller, grantor, seller, grantee, buyer. All right, requirements for a valid deed. These are the elements that are going to be required for a valid deed. Of course, you're going to need a seller who has legal competency. That's a big one. They have to be aware of what they're doing. Let's say if one day I'm going to sign a deed and I am super drunk. Do you think I'm in the right mind to sign a deed? No. Even though I am competent, I wasn't competent in that moment, if that makes sense. So yeah, a grantor who has legal competency to execute or sign the deed. Grantee is going to be named with reasonable certainty. And by that, they mean they want to identify the person that the property is being conveyed to with as much clarity as possible. You're also going to need a statement of consideration. And remember, I told you, is love and affection consideration? Can it be consideration?
Yes.
Yes, it can, as long as it's agreed upon. Can earnest money ever be consideration, Mr. Wyatt? No, it cannot. Correct. So yeah, you need something of consideration, something of value to one party or both parties, and there's going to be a granting clause. And the granting clause is granting the rights to another person. So that's basically just the words of conveyance. It'd be like a contract. And then there's also a habendum clause.
It's basically the granting clause is basically a statement of what's happening. It's the statement of, in this line, it's stating that I'm conveying the property.
And then a habendum clause, and that one you might see on your test. It's to define ownership taken by the grantee, define how they're going to be using the property, define how they'll be taking ownership of the property. And you may want to write this down. Deeds will never be executed by the grantee. The grantor, the seller, is actually the one who's going to execute the deeds. It will never be the seller, the buyer.
Can you repeat that? Sorry, I was writing something else and I understand
Are we going to repeat it? So just remember that deeds can never be executed by the buyer. It's always the seller that's going to do executing, or that's going to execute the contract.
And that might seem normal, but the reason that's kind of tricky is that if you're buying a property, not with a deed, but let's say with a contract, either party can execute the contract. So if I say I want to buy his house and I write up a contract, send it over to him, and he can either accept it and execute it and send it to title, or he can send it back with a counteroffer. I accept that and then send it to title, and I can execute it too. So either party can end up, whoever's the last party to sign is the one that executes it, but it can go back and, it can be either party, basically. And so this is just saying that for a deed, it's not going to be the buyer that's going to be the one that's executing it. Only one party can actually execute that part of the contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
So more on legal competency. Let's say a kid's coming to buy it. He's 17 years old. Is he legally competent? No, he's a minor. And also words of conveyance. They're conveying the property, and that's what's going to be conveyed, but it's also, they're granting them their bundle of rights. Remember we talked about bundle of rights? That's also granting them the bundle of rights to that property.
And just to add on to what he was saying about the minor, if y'all remember, a minor in a contract is not a voided contract, it is a voidable contract. And that's something I remember saying. I took the test twice, and I saw that both times I took the test. Is because you would think that it's just a void contract, but actually it's a legal contract that is binding, but the minor can void it at any time. So you can get all the way to, if you're buying a house, you can get all the way to the day of closing. You can walk into the closing office and go, actually, I'm out of here, I'm only 17. And he's allowed to do that. You can't void it. The contract is binding. It's a binding contract between you and the party, but they can just leave at any time because they're a minor. That's kind of the only situation that exists.
So, can legal punishment be placed on that minor for canceling the house?
No, because they were not legally competent.
And they are in a voidable contract, so they're allowed to do that.
So there's no legal grounds for them to do anything because he's not technically legal.
Yeah, so if he was buying a house and he put down earnest money and all that sort of stuff, when he leaves, he gets to take that earnest money and void the entire contract. It's not like there's no consideration that has to be paid off. There's no, kind of repercussions that come. Yeah, nothing like that.
Not even their parents?
Well, your parents might be mad,
But that's something to us that just makes us vigilant of, in a college town especially, you have a lot of people that are trying to rent apartments and whatnot, so it just makes it a little bit more, you really want to make sure to check how old the person is that you're renting to. Because,
well, renting's a little different because renting is not exactly a complete contract. It's just
yeah, that's fair.
So,
But it's also, you still want to keep in mind that there are a lot of people in this town who are younger who are able to do stuff, because it's a kind of a college town, so there are a lot of younger people here. So you might think they're 20 and in college, but they might actually be 17. So just to kind of keep that in mind. You don't want to get yourself in a contract with somebody who can just walk away at any point and not realize that that's the case.
right. So, the granting clause is going to convey the words and the bundle of rights. And the abandonment clause, just remember, that's just to define ownership of the property. Some more requirements for a valid deed: an accurate legal description. That's a big one. Aiden, is an address a legal description? No, it is not. For a legal description, you'll find on a contract, it's going to be something like Lot 2, Block 1, Castlegate subdivision, Brazos County, College Station, Texas, something like that is what you'll see. You won't actually see the address will be on the contract, but that's not that's not the legal description of the property. Any relevant exceptions or reservations that could go with the contract. So let's say I have a shed on the property line, and I'm trying to sell my property to someone. I'd have to go and get clearance saying that this is okay. We don't need to tear this down, or we do need to tear this down. That any like forms or anything like that will have to go with the deed. So they know, we either need to remove this or you just need to know what you're buying, basically. And of course, the signature of the grantor, which must be acknowledged. What is acknowledged?
Acknowledge that they know. They confirm that
They've received the contract, correct. And then delivery of the deed and acceptance by the grantee. That's a big one. If we sign a deed and I just set it on my desk, it's not a deed. The other people don't know. I haven't told anyone. So you gotta make sure it's delivered and accepted. As well as when you send a contract, sometimes, or when I receive a contract, I don't usually say received, thank you, something like that, just so they know that I have the contract. All right, types of deed. General warranty deed.
Go back.
Good.
Right there. Sheldon,
Yes.
what's the least type of protection deed? Do you remember?
I don't think so.
Do y'all remember?
special warranty.
Close.
I'm gonna send it out.
Quick claim.
Quick claim deed.
Quick claim is your least. So what's your most mosquito? What did
We'll
you
just say it.
What did he just say?
I don't know.
He says
I
something
wanna
with
say
the word deed. That's all.
It does have, she's right. You got us there.
It's
Go ahead
actually
and flip it over
general
for it.
warranty
It's a
deed.
general warranty deed.
And you would think it says general warranty, you think it'd be not as much protection or something, because it's just general, but
So as he
It's
goes
a
through these next ones with y'all, imagine body armor. Okay? When you go in, you got full body armor on, you have the most protection, right? If you got those old metal ones, remember back in the old days that had metal body armor?
you mean like medieval armor?
Yeah. Everything, you're pretty much protected, okay? That's what a general warranty deed is. But as he goes through these, what's happening is he's taking off pieces of that armor of that individual. Does that make sense? And he's going to strip them down to basically no armor with a quick claim deed.
Right, we get to that
Okay.
in the next slide.
So as he's going through these, imagine as he changes through them, a piece of armor is being removed off of that person. Does that make sense?
That's a good way to think
I
about
was
it.
going somewhere else with that. I
What were
would
you-
think like a general would have the most armor.
That's what I was thinking.
That's-
That's exactly what I was
that's
thinking.
another way.
I don't think that. I thought the opposite
Very
when
good.
when I saw general warranty. I was like, general warranty is probably at least protection, but no,
You're
it's.
probably thinking of Dollar General.
That might, yeah, that might have something
The
to do
general.
with it. That might have something to do with it. You might be onto something. But it's going to be the greatest protection to the buyer. Now, when you buy a house, this is what you want. You want to get a general warranty deed. And there's several covenants in the general warranty deed, and a covenant, just think of it as a warranty. It's a warranty, basically. So there's a covenant of season, which the grantors warrant that they own the property and have the right to and title to convey that title. Sorry. So it's just clear. It's just showing that, hey, we do have this property. This is our property. We do have the rights, and we can transfer title to that property. And then there's a covenant against encumbrances. Grantor warrants that the property is free from liens or encumbrances, except for any specifically stated in the deed. So maybe they owe some money for mechanics lien or anything like that. The general warranty deed is going to protect you from that, because it automatically says that there is no liens or encumbrances on the property when I convey it. And then the biggest one, the covenant of quiet enjoyment. That's where the grantor guarantees that the grantee's title will be good against third parties who might bring court actions to establish a period of title on the property. So maybe a bank comes after you after the fact that, after you purchase the property or anything like that, the general warranty deed will protect you from that.
So what's an example, Wyatt, of a covenant against encumbrances? Give me a hypothetical there. So break it down.
Yeah,
Grantor means who?
the person that lends it.
So
They're the one that they sold it, so they're the seller. They're the ones transferring.
Mm-hmm.
What's the word warrant mean? You ever heard of the word warranty?
Oh, okay.
What's a warranty?
Which is like yeah, protection coverage.
There you go. Okay. So the seller is given a warranty that the property is free from.
The liens and then the encumbrances.
What's that mean?
It's like the coverage from like the liens is like holds on it.
So my question is, if it says free from liens, that means it has liens on it?
No,
There you go. It means what?
it's free from. It's like all the warranty is makes it free from it.
Correct. Okay. What about encumbrances? Is it going to have encumbrances on it?
No.
Well, they might, because what's that last sentence say there? That last not
Except when
sentence.
it's specifically stated in the deed.
There you go.
Okay.
So they are free of everything else. So Miss Vita might actually have a debt against that property, say mechanics lien against it, but it's stipulated in the deed that she has that. Do you see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
But if there's nothing stated, then you own it what? What type of estate? Do you remember? Freehold,
All the freehold.
fee simple.
Got it.
Make sense there?
Gotcha.
All right.
That's
Do you
the
see how
highest-
that works?
that's the highest form of ownership.
There you go. Now, Stefan, I want you to pick on somebody else other than Travis and Aiden,
Okay.
other than Sheldon. I want you to pick on somebody else, even other than Miss Vita, because Miss Vita knows this. I want you to pick on somebody else that, in this particular situation, give us an example for covenant of season and covenant of quiet enjoyment.
So you want one person to do season and one to do quiet enjoyment?
Yep, I want them to give us an example, or what is explained to us in more detail.
Okay. Who do we got online right now? Let's do Giovanni.
Gio, you
Is the mic
got
working?
this.
Can you hear us?
Yes. Question or something?
Can you please give us an example of covenant of season? To the best of your ability.
Stepping through it, I did.
So a grantor warrant that they own the property and have the right to convey the title, right?
Yeah.
And the grantor is who?
The owner?
The grantor is the seller.
Ask Miss Vita to help you. Giovanni, you wanna phone a friend, Miss Vita
You
over
want to
here?
phone a friend?
Yeah, yes, please.
All right, Miss Vita, you have been called.
All right, Jim, you just lost your $1 million.
Oh, no.
Let's see. Okay, so free from what was the question? Free from what? Which one?
Covenant of season.
Own the property and have the right to convey title to do it. Okay, so the buyer is saying that they own the property and oh, the seller owns the property flat out, right? And they have the right to do whatever they want with the title.
Correct. Bingo.
Now,
You got it.
Ask Giovanni, I'm sure.
Did you understand that, Gio?
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay, perfect. All right, covenant of quiet enjoyment. Miss McKenna, you have been chosen.
Oh, good. All right. So what do I need to say?
What's an example of, or what does,
Just explain. Put it in layman's terms, I guess you can say.
Yeah. what does the covenant of quiet?
We got that grantor and guarantee. Look, just put it in layman's terms. Tell us what it means. Instead of all this legal mumbo jumbo.
Yeah.
Tell us what it means.
Well, the grantor,
Okay.
buyer.
So who's the grantor?
Oh, I meant seller.
Seller.
I had it written down.
Very good.
Dang it. The seller guarantees, so like promises or proves that the buyer's title will be good against third parties. But I don't know what third party would.
Third party would be like a bank or.
Well, tell her who the parties are first.
Okay, so the
Actually, let's ask somebody online. Let's get some help here. Pick somebody online.
I'm gonna pick on Letitia. Can you hear us, Miss Letitia?
Yes.
Awesome. Got a question for you. Who are the two parties in a contract when they're buying property? Who are the two people that are in the contract?
The buyer and the seller.
Bam, there you go.
Because the contract is bilateral, there's two parties. Now, a third party would be another person coming in trying to say, hey, this isn't clear, this is our property, this isn't your property.
So now let's come back to Miss McKenna, because we got to continue to answer her question. Now, Miss McKenna, you asked, so Miss Letitia helped you here, okay? She told you that the two parties to a contract is buyer and seller. So anyone that's not buyer seller is what?
Third party.
There you go.
Correct.
So it could be a appraiser, it could be an inspector, it could be a lender, it could be all, you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So there's multiple people here in that situation. So pick it up from where you were. So now you see where it's at. Now you understand what, tell us that.
What is the quiet enjoyment?
So the seller
Mm-hmm.
guarantees that the buyer
Uh-huh.
title will be good against third parties in court.
Uh-huh. You're right. Keep going.
You got it.
I'm just reading.
Yeah.
I'm right because I'm
You're-
just reading, but
Right, but you understand how it is.
I mean,
So here's what it,
So it's bilateral, remember, contracts are bilateral, two people, there's two parties. So a third party coming in could be, it could be a bank, it could be anybody like that, it could be like mechanics lien, it could be.
let's put it more into terms that I was looking for. You ready here? All right, so Giovanni, he owns a property. He is selling that property to you, McKenna. Okay? So Giovanni would be the grantor in the situation. All right? So Giovanni is guaranteeing to you, Miss Grantee, that this title is good, that there's no other person that has interest in that property but Giovanni. Make sense?
Alright.
But here's the thing. Here comes Miss Vita, comes in, and she says, oh no, Giovanni don't all own this property. I own half of it too. He's trying to steal it from underneath me. Well, what happened is because he transferred you a general warranty deed, Giovanni has to come into the situation. He has to come in and tell Miss Vita, no, you don't. And if there's a lawsuit, he has to come and stand by your side to fight Vita in regards to showing that you had full ownership, or that he had full ownership. Does that make sense?
It's just to protect you from people coming in saying, hey, I own this property, you don't own this property. So
Exactly.
that's just a,
It protects you from other people's dramas.
Exactly.
it protects you.
Exactly.
When you're buying a house, you want a general warranty deed.
And I want y'all to hear this online real quick. Miss Vita, say that a little louder so they can hear what you just told me.
It protects you from other people's drama.
There you go. It
Plain and
is
simple.
and when you see the word warrant, I want you to think of a warranty. Like cell phone warranties, car warranties, all that's what it basically is. It's a warranty that they're going to go up. If somebody challenges it, there's a warranty in regards to they're going to go and help y'all.
We're in the business of real estate. We're not in the business of law enforcement. It's not a warrant for your arrest.
I was
Yeah.
about to say, I was like, man, I can't be
No,
in this field if y'all dealing with warrants and stuff.
no cops, no warrants.
Now we do occasionally arrest Wyatt and Aiden off and on, but you know that's normal. So
My car don't want to work.
So just remember, general warranty deed is going to be the greatest protection. That's big, and you will see this on your test. You will definitely
Yeah,
see
you'll definitely
general
see that.
warranty
Yeah.
deed on your test, and probably the other ones that we're going to go over as well. More on general warranty deed.
So don't even explain it. Just continue it. Let them read it. Let them process it. Let them tell you.
Okay, sure, we can do it that way. So
Because they need to know
there's
how
a
these
couple
work.
more covenants. So I want y'all to read over that.
Guess who you can pick on?
Miss Vita?
Pick on Miss Vita.
So
Now, which one are you gonna have her do?
I'll have her do the first one.
All right.
So the grantor promises to obtain and deliver any instrument needed to make the title good. So in the case that there is a lien on the
You get it.
title, they promise to basically make good and go out and, I guess, pay off the deeds
Or maybe even sign off on a release, maybe.
yeah,
There you
anything to
go.
make sure that it is clean whenever they transfer.
Yeah, it's just gonna promise that any instrument that we need to make this title good, we're gonna give it to you.
And you're gonna fix it.
And
Really
you're gonna
good.
fix it. It shouldn't be my problem, because I'm buying the property, right?
That's right.
All right, what about the covenant of warranty forever? Well, that's an interesting one, so let's see Wyatt.
He's already done one.
He's already
So
done.
we want to pick on. We got multiple students in here. Let's keep them going.
Okay, okay, Ms. Shelton.
So the seller promises to compensate, so promises to financially support, is that the right word? Financially, I'm going with it. The
got it.
buyer for the, I'm sorry?
I said, you got it, keep going.
Oh, okay. For the loss sustained, so if something happens after the title is, or the deed is passed over to the grantee, if something happens after that, then they are covered through the warranty.
You got it.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
So in this situation, would it title catch it before? And if they don't, then you would have a situation.
Title isn't all knowing as we'd like them to think that they are.
But that's why you get title insurance for
That's
it.
why you get title insurance, and that's why you want a general warranty. You got it, Miss Shelton. Good job.
I'm liking this. So y'all, I want him to be doing a little bit more of this because, of course, I know you all can read. Okay.
I don't know how to read.
I'm still learning myself, but
He wants me to involve the class.
yeah, I want y'all to see kind of applying, because that's the key thing. On the test, Travis, my question to you, sir, you took the test.
Yeah.
On the test, they give you a slide like this and you just fill it in, right? Is that how this works?
Man, I passed it the first time.
You passed first time, right? How do they actually end up doing it?
They use a lot of words.
Yeah.
And
Do they
there are
apply?
no definition questions. If I remember correctly, there was
I
no
don't think it
definition
was.
questions. It
But
was
knowing
all
the
kind of-
definitions will help.
knowing the definitions definitely helps, but it's all kind of hypotheticals and examples that you have to kind of fill in. You know, if X does this and then this person does that, what type of thing is this? And it's a lot of questions like that.
So coming back, Ms. Vita, to yours earlier about the covenant of further assurance, they would probably, instead of giving you that, they would probably say that Ms. Vita has gone and bought a property that she has already closed on and has moved in. She ends up 12 months down the road, finds out that there's back taxes on the property when she goes to pay taxes. What covenant protects her in a general warranty deed?
That would be the covenant, warranty front.
Or what's the deal to adjust it is also going to be the further assurance. Because you have to deliver make the title good, and to do that, you have to do what? You have to pay it off. So it could be either or.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yep.
But it's going to want the best answer, if you see what I'm saying here.
That's good. That's how they will word it too on the test. I actually think I remember seeing a question saying that, which
They'll give you that best
it
choice.
says straight out which
of these is the
which
best
deed
option?
is offers the greatest protection to the buyer.
Yeah.
The general warranty deed.
But does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, go for
Everybody
it.
good?
Keep going.
Okay, now we're in special warranty deed, and that's where Justin was saying the armor, a piece of armor has fallen off.
Oh no, you just lost a leg.
Well,
There you go.
it's just a flesh wound.
You just lost your helmet.
Hey, that was good.
So it's in a special warranty deed, the grantor received the title, but the property was not encumbered during the time the grantor held the title, except as otherwise noted in the deed. So that basically says, like, during my time of owning this property, I did not do anything to encumber the property or add liens to it. But that doesn't say to what happened way before. Who else owned it? They're just saying that for the time that I owned it, from the time that I'm selling it, I did not encumber this property. And that's what a special warranty deed is. And if you're a seller, a special warranty deed is good. But if you're a buyer, it's really not. Because it doesn't give you near as much protection from other things that the general warranty deed does. So yeah, anything that happened during that time, but I can't say as to what happened, before the fact.
Is there a price difference on these deeds? On which one?
Price
one is
difference? The price will always be negotiated.
Okay.
So the price can be whatever as long as the two parties agree on it.
And that's for the type of deed that you want. That's not like actual.
Well, for the type of deed that you want,
The house will come with a type of deed. You don't like pick which deed you want to receive. The seller will provide a deed. And so if he can only prove that while he had it, there was nothing that he doesn't know about before he had it, he has to give you a special warranty deed.
So you can't request the general.
no, I can't.
You can ask if you could be like, because they will have one deed. It's like to a car. You only have one like deed or title to the car. And so you can't really be like, well, I want the other one. It's like, well, no, this is what I have. This is what I do. So when you go to purchase a house, they will give you their deed, but you can't like specify. They just have the deed to that. It's their deed. They just will pass it
So,
off to you.
like a brand new house would have a general warranty.
Yes.
But if it's already been lived in, it would most likely be a special warranty.
It will be a general warranty because what happens is if a house is built, this person moves in, they don't have any encumbrances, they will give a general warranty to the second person. That person doesn't have any encumbrances. Well, they have a general warranty deed showing that before them was good, and it's good for them, so it'll just get passed on. They'll always have a general warranty deed until somebody messes it up, basically.
Right.
And so once, let's say the fifth owner has a bunch of encumbrances, they do a quitclaim deed because they can't prove anything. Well, then the next person who gets it, if they're good the whole time they had it, well, they can't prove before them because the person before them gave them a quitclaim deed. So I can only do a special warranty that proves that while I had it, it was good.
So what would be the situation on a foreclosure?
So, okay, I can come in there because I'm listing a property right now that was foreclosed on.
Yeah.
And obviously the people who lost it beforehand had nothing to do with the transfer of property. So the loan company that I'm representing, when they got it, they are now transferring it via special warranty deed because they don't know anything that happened before they gained ownership because the previous owners had nothing to do with the transfer of title to them. And so now we are selling it via special warranty to the new person who's buying it. And from here on out, it'll be deeded via special warranty.
So just read here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's fine if you're the seller and you have special warranty. It's not a big deal. If you're the buyer, it's a little more of an issue.
Yeah.
It's like if I was going to go buy a car and the car salesman says, "We got this car 3 days ago," I can.
But it has a salvage title.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like it has like a salvage or refurbished title.
Yep.
The car I have has a refurbished title on it.
Yeah.
Because we got it from a guy who got it at auction after it was totaled and fixed it back up.
Yeah.
We bought it from him, but we bought it from him for a cheaper price, knowing it's refurbished, so it's probably not gonna. It's not new. Also, when I go to sell it, I know that I'm not gonna get the best price for it because it's a refurbished car. Like I know that, but we went into that knowing that. So
Yeah.
same with these deeds. You can buy a quitclaim deed. You just have to accept the fact that the house might be a little cheaper because they don't have a general warranty or special warranty. But you have to know that when you go to sell it, you can't do anything. You can do a special warranty at that point if you know you were visible, you had it. But
Would then,
kind of
if you do a quick claim, you're obviously not protected in the case that there's back taxes on there. You can't take it back to the previous person. So that would automatically just fall on you if there's back taxes on the property.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I said, it's like if you were to buy a car and the car's been sold and says, "We got this car 3 days ago. During that 3 days, it was fine, but we don't know what happened to it beforehand." So it's like if you were to buy it like that, that's what you'll run into if you see a special warranty deed. And that's not something you want, right?
No.
You don't want to hear that.
There's,
Okay, now bargain and sale deed. That's Justin's analogy. There's more armor falling off. It contains no express warranties against encumbrances. And it implies that the grantor holds title of possession of the property. Basically saying, let's see, that was actually quick. So it's basically saying we think that this person has good title. We think that they own the property outright, but we're not sure. That would be a bargain and sale deed. And bargain and sales are mostly utilized during tax sales. You'll see it for a tax sale. That's where you'll see a bargain and sale deed. Yeah, but it has no warranties to it whatsoever. And they're not even sure that the owner actually has title. They think they do, but they don't know for sure. And then the worst one there is, quitclaim deed. And that's going to be the least protection of the buyer. You have no armor. You're going in there butt naked. There's no express or implied covenants or warranties. And it's used primarily to convey less than fee simple or to cure a defect on title. Let's see. Honestly, Justin made a good analogy when I was watching his. A piece of paper with your signature on it would probably have more weight than a quitclaim deed would, honestly.
Yeah.
That's how low it is. So just remember, yeah, it's the least protection.
Just Vita, I've got a piece of paper I'm gonna fill out, give you my interest in this whole building. I'm gonna sell this building to you. Sound good? I don't own it, but I'm just giving you a piece of paper that says you can have my interest. How much weight does that carry for you?
0.
That's what they're worth. Literally, that's what it's worth. The only time it's worth something is if I actually have an interest. But otherwise, it's not worth crap. You might as well just go throw it in the garbage and go about your day. And it can look all as official as it can, but it's still ain't worth nothing.
How about for the buyer with that? Like,
They're the
they
worst
have something, but
And it'll give them no protections, no warranties, no nothing.
It's just paper saying
It's just saying,
it might possibly own this property.
that's exactly it. It's like McKenna saying, you know what, Speed, I'm gonna sign off on my grandma's property. I'm gonna sign off and here you go. Do you own it? No, she don't own it. So what's it worth? You kind of see what I'm saying? So it can look all official, but it don't mean nothing.
But what is it actually used for?
Reminds me of-
It's used to actually clear title sometimes.
Yeah. It reminds me of like, I remember hearing stories of, you know, in the early 1800s of people like, there was a guy who sold the Eiffel Tower 7 times because he just would pretend like he owned it and he like walked with such confidence that people just believed he did. So then he would just sell it to people for millions of dollars and they're like, oh, cool. And then he's like, all right, I'll see you later. And then he just disappeared, go to some other town and do the same thing. And it's the same thing where you're just selling something that you might or might not own, but you just
Just tell me you got
So that's
arrested.
legal.
Yeah, I mean, I could go out today and give everybody a quick claim deed and everything.
So they write you a check.
And they give me a check, but now that's fraud. So I can't say, I'm giving you a quick claim deed to this building and I want you to give me money unless I get full disclosure to you. So I might say, I'll give you a quick claim deed to Glenn College. If I have interest, you can have it. And I want $500,000. If I told you that I might not, if I made that clear, I may or may not, and you still give me $500,000, then I'm not fine. But if I leave that part out and just say, here, I own Glenn College, here's a quick claim, and you give me money, I was creating fraud in that situation. You can sue me, and I go to jail.
And you go to jail, criminal charges.
I can't believe people are that well done.
Oh, there's people out there like that.
They'll put fine print out there and everything. They will do a lot of stupid stuff
People are
just
crazy.
to make money.
I did a
And you'll
show
see it.
today, and she got mad. We all had gloves, mask, and our shoes off in the house. She got pissed when I opened the back door. Oh, sorry. She got upset when I opened the back door. She was very difficult. So there's people out there like that. There is.
Hey,
When it
maybe
really
she
came
had a
down-
cemetery back there and she didn't want you to see it.
At least she doesn't have a cemetery. That's a good point.
What it really came down to is Wyatt would not give his black card to her.
See,
It always comes back to that black card.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, all 3 is back.
We should not have to keep you around us at all times. Oh, you got a pop black card.
Yeah, but it's used primarily to convey less than fee simple, or secure a defect on title. Justin, do you have any instances where it's been used in your time? The quick claim deed, have you used it before?
Yeah. When it goes into, when it happens a lot of times in a situation when probate is when most of the time pops up. Aiden, he's supposed to get, his grandpa's property, for example. Well, he goes on and sells it because the will says that he gets the property. Well, it wasn't properly filed, kind of like in Travis's situation. It wasn't filed in a timely manner. Since it wasn't filed in a timely manner, those transfers ended up in that particular situation. That transfer didn't actually happen because it wasn't within the allowable time frame. So because Aiden did not get it done within a time frame, he now has to get all his brothers and sisters and other people that are interested to fill out a quick claim to transfer ownership to Aiden.
I haven't had to use it in my
So it is,
time.
you have to, kind of like what, Travis, go ahead real quick and tell them about your situation with your client where they're having to get the, is it the mama and the aunt?
Yeah, so I have a client whose grandfather passed away, and as far as I know, this is like she inherited the property, and so now it's a situation of now we have to, she wants to sell it, and there's just some lots in Waller that we're getting rid of, basically. When we go through all this stuff, and it turns out that I hear from title that there's actually 3 parties that have a vested interest in the property. So it's not just her, it's her mom, and her aunt. And so I told her, I was like, if we're gonna close on this, I need all 3 of y'all to come sign the paperwork. And she's like, well, my mom's in Austin and my aunt's in San Marcos, so they're not gonna be able to come down. And I heard this like 2 days before we're supposed to close. So it's like, they're not gonna be able to, I mean, like they don't even know that they own part of this. Like, as far as they know, everything was hers. So I go back through all the documents, and she sends me a bunch of basically gift deeds where it went from her grandfather, her big grandmother inherited it, then When she passed away, it went to her aunt, and then her aunt gifted it to her mom, and then her mom gifted it to her. So she owns it. But what happened is that when, I think it was when her grandmother passed away, they didn't file everything quick enough. So even though it was gifted to her aunt, she was never really declared the sole owner. So it just went to the heirs of the property, or the heirs of the family, which would have been her mom, and her aunt, basically. And so because of that, even though they have these certificates that prove that this and this happened, they were filed after the letter basically had expired. And so now I'm having to resend out these quitclaim and gifting certificates to have, we actually had to mail them out today, emailed them to her mom and her aunt for them to sign and FedEx back to us so we can go to closing. We can get the papers in tomorrow, we can close on Friday. So it's been like a weird, stressful, like all over the place situation, but that's kind of what we were talking about, that you can get in those situations where just because of the timing not working out, where things were filed after they were supposed to and whatever. Yeah, and somebody's negligence. Now you think you own a property, turns out it's actually 4 people that own a property. You didn't realize that. So now in order to get rid of it, you go through title and they go, well, actually you have to, it's actually this, and this that have to all come here. So
It's a mess.
yeah.
It can turn into a big mess.
Yeah.
Would you ever have to like drive somewhere because the mail wouldn't get here fast enough?
I have.
I say, yeah,
I have.
I would have.
I've had to drive.
If you
close
needed to,
Dallas.
you would have, yeah.
Also,
Like if you needed to,
This-
you would.
Especially when your client's yelling and screaming and hollering.
Yeah.
at them.
luckily this.
You're gonna make it happen.
Yeah,
One
like
way or another,
my
you're gonna make it
client
happen.
is like, she just wants to sue everybody. She's just throwing out like lawsuits. She just wants to sue everybody, and we're all like, just please calm down. It's like, it's no big deal. It's okay. We can get this solved. But luckily, the buyer, it's like $25,000. This whole lot. So like, it's not a whole lot of money, and the buyer is not looking to. It's just vacant land. He's not wanting to like move in. He didn't already sell his house, and now he's to move in, and he doesn't have a place to go or whatever. It's just a vacant land. He wants to kind of build some homes on and hopefully make a neighborhood around there or whatever. But so because of that, we just moved closing back, and we're able to do that. Just send an amendment, change closing date.
I mean, if there's a problem, I don't mind.
We're all good. But yeah, it's like, so we're all good. But it's one of those situations where, yeah, if this was a, $400,000 house, that we're in a situation where like the guy has sold his house and he needs to buy this house or else he has nowhere to stay. And now we are running late. I would have drove to San Marcos and then to Austin, and then I would have gone and picked up those papers myself.
Sometimes you may have to.
Yeah.
And when it comes to clients, you're probably gonna do it.
Yeah.
Unless it's, Florida or something, you gotta drive to Florida.
Well, at that point, that's when you use black card, go buy you a plane.
Black card. We
Get
use
on
black card.
Get on there and go.
You already know.
So that is a quit claim deed. Yeah, just remember lease protection, quit claim, most protection is general warranty deed. That'll help you on the test for sure.
It's quit claim. The whole time I kept hearing quit.
Quit claim.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there's transfer tax stamps. Even transferring title, it's going to get taxed. So there's a tax for that, of course. And it's paid upon conveyance of the real estate when the deed is recorded. And it's paid according to the agreement. So it could be just the buyer has to pay, just the seller has to pay, or both. It's just what they agree on is what will be paid. Now we're in involuntary alienation. Now, involuntary, we know what that means. It means you lose your property without the owner's consent. And there's isn't there several ways you can do that? Yeah. Transfer by adverse possession. That's when one may make a claim on a property away from another if the claimant's use is of the following. So let's say Wyatt owns 500 acres of property, and I own a few acres on the back end of his property, on the very back of his. He doesn't even go back there. And I decide, I could use 10 more acres. He's not using that land. I'll just build a fence and tell all my friends about it. And I got 10 more acres and stuff. And so after a certain amount of time, as long as that it was open and people know about it. They know that he has that land. It's notorious. Others know it. It's uninterrupted, meaning he was there the whole time, or he had done it for uninterrupted for a while. It was hostile, and that means it was without the owner's consent and adverse to the true owner's possession. And after a certain amount of time, he will get ownership of that 10 acres
So without having to pay?
without having to pay.
Isn't that what we talked about the other day?
It's called squatters' rights here in Texas.
Yep.
And it's a thing. It is 10 years, and the defense is you should have noticed in 10 years that this was happening on your property, right? Other people knew about it, all this other stuff. You should have noticed. And because you didn't, he now gets your property. It's like if you steal, you go to jail. But if you steal property, you get the property. It's strange, right? Strange how that works. But yeah, it's 10 years. You would have to squat there for 10 years or where the fence is, and everyone has to know about it. As long as these are all there, within 10 years, you get that property. And how do you think the owner's going to be happy about that? Very mad, right? I just stole your land from you. But you didn't do anything for 10 years, so.
I would open a pig farm right next to that fence.
That'd be stinky.
I'm petty.
That'd be stinky.
Yep.
It would have to carry all the way through the other 500 acres to get there.
Okay, whatever
She
it
put
takes.
fans up.
Fans up, blow it all down there. Conveyance of a descendant's property. Okay, so we did involuntary alienation. There's only one way that you can involuntarily be alienated, or eminent domain is another involuntary one, isn't it, Justin? Involuntary alienation.
Yes.
Eminent domain is also involuntary, correct? Well, that's not covered.
That's part of heat.
That's part of
Don't confuse those two. But yes, it is. So it's part of heat. Now, I want to ask this question, Ms. Vita. Voluntary means what again? Let's see if you got it. Voluntary alienation means what? The person does it
Voluntary.
at their own will. Involuntary alienation means that it's done by the actions of who?
An individual, like, that you just don't know.
Could be the court system most of the time, right? Because could the courts take your house away from you? You don't pay taxes?
Yeah.
Could the courts take your house away from you if you don't pay a mechanic's loan?
No.
They can force the sale.
Really?
Yes, they can.
What if you don't pay your mortgage?
Yeah.
So a lot of the involuntary, what I want you to think of is things that are done without your will. You see what I'm saying? So the courts have a lot more power than what, unfortunately, we give. Like, they have more power than we want to give them, if you see what I'm saying.
As long as you
Yes,
pay your
there's
debts.
a lot of things you could be losing. Well, you came back to your infinite domain.
Yeah.
What if Ms. Vita pays all her debts and she's paying everything? She's a great citizen.
Well, then she should get just compensation, should she not?
Yeah, but she's gonna get the lower of it, not the higher.
Unfortunately.
She don't wanna pay a lot. So you kind of see how these work. So when you're thinking about alienations, it's basically you voluntarily, you are putting liens and encumbrances on your property. Involuntary are actions that you failed to fulfill, you didn't do, or things of that nature that are encumbered in the property.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It's a good way to put it.
You see where I'm going with that?
I'm trying to find a way to make
To
myself
process it?
Yeah.
Giovanni, do you understand that, sir?
Yes, sir, I do. Sorry, I couldn't get the new thing.
So involuntary would be like negligence on my part, because I knew I had to pay my taxes. I know I have to pay my mortgage, but I neglected to pay that.
There you go. There you go. That's an involuntary deal, because did you want the government to come take your house? There you go. So you gotta ask yourself very first, is this an encumbrance at the action of the owner or the action or against the owner's wishes? Was it with their wishes or against their wishes? If it's against their wishes, it's involuntary. If they chose to put that mechanics lien on there, it is at their wishes and it's voluntary alienation. Does that make sense there? Clarified? Wyatt, are you good? Serious?
Y'all get online, y'all awake?
Serious?
Awake online?
Yeah.
McKenna, how are you, girl? Good?
All right, so conveyance of a descendant's property, and that's where it transfers by will.
Ask them what a descendant is. I'm not hearing class, but somebody online. Who's a descendant?
Can someone online, let's see. Corey. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Here. Ask her the question.
Transfer the title by will. What is a will?
No, what's a descendant?
Oh, what is a descendant? Sorry.
Descendant is someone who comes after someone passes.
There you go. Someone has passed. So a descendant is an individual that they died. Okay. So in that situation is the descendant was the owner, but they died, so now they're a descendant. Does that make sense? Very good, Corey.
Now, what about a will? What is a will? Do you know that, Ms. Corey?
The document that someone sets in place for their possessions to go to someone else after they pass.
There you go.
Is a document distributing your assets according to your desire.
Corey, I want to ask a question. Does every person in the United States have a will?
No.
Did you say yes or no?
She said no.
No. That is correct. Should everybody have a will?
In my opinion, yes. If they have some value to pass on.
Exactly. See, because here's the thing. We all have banking accounts, don't we? Every one of us probably has a bank account. Okay?
What's that?
So, So in that particular situation, if we all have bank accounts, we have money in it. Well, I guarantee you probably most of you, probably half we'd say, didn't even know that you can put a beneficiary on your bank account. So let me ask Mr. Wyatt real quick. Mr. Wyatt, what's a beneficiary?
Beneficiary.
A beneficiary is a person that benefits from when you are no longer there. They can benefit from whatever you have. So if Mr. Wyatt, do you have a checking account or a savings account? Okay. Are you the only person on that account? Okay. So if you die today, God forbid, you pass away, all right, who gets that money?
I don't think anyone.
That's right, because you haven't dictated who it's supposed to go to.
The state gets in.
So the state, if you did not have heirs, would give the money. Now, what if you're Miss Vita and you've got 500 million sitting in her bank?
Ooh.
Okay. She's been using your black card, by the way.
That's where it went.
I'm looking for that thing.
But Miss Vita, let's say she has a couple million in her bank, and God forbid she passes. She has no heirs, and she has no will. Her money's locked up and could go to the state. And imagine if she worked her entire life, 20 hours a day, every day, for her entire life, only for it to all go to the state. How y'all like that? Sound fun?
She should have wrote a will.
My second cousin twice removed better come and claim it.
That's right, exactly. Like, so in that situation is, like Ms. Corey said, Ms. Corey's correct. You want to make certain that everybody has a will, no matter what age you are. Doesn't matter. Because you don't know, for example, Wyatt, this can happen. I used to work in a law firm in family law and did probates and all that stuff. But I can tell you all this. We had one case, no joke. The entire family was in the car together going home for Christmas one year. Guess what? They got in an accident, died. Guess what ended up happening? They all died. All their heirs were basically in the car. Well, sure enough, grandma, mama, and daddy had a will. Son did not. They all passed away, but the son was the last one to pass away. So by law of basically how it goes through the hierarchy or through the heirship, is it goes through from grandma to parents to the son. Well, the son didn't have a will. He was the only child. So guess what ended up happening? That entire estate had to go to the state because there was no other heirs. So those 3 generations
Gone.
gone. Because the son said, I didn't need a will.
How much
You
does
never know.
How much
when you
does it
need a will.
cost to do a will?
Huh?
How much does it cost to do a will?
I mean, if you have something like Wyatt, for example, you don't have a lot of money, probably, a lot of assets.
Got him.
I was like, you can't attack him on that one.
It's that black card. It's that black card.
The black card.
But in that situation is you may not have a lot. Okay? I mean, you may not be like Mr. Aiden over here with millions in the bank. So
I mean,
what was that, Mr. Aiden?
I wish.
But no, in that situation is you may not think that you need a will. But I'm gonna tell you something. You can go online and you can find the will template online and fill it out yourself. Real basic. And complete it and sign it. And it is legally effective just like if an attorney drafted it.
Does it have to be notarized?
Yes, ma'am. You can go in there and you can do your own will. Now, if you're going to get a complicated will, say Miss McKenna here wants it extremely complicated,
If you have a lot of assets.
and she's got assets, then of course an attorney needs to draft it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just like I tell people in real estate. If you're selling a $5,000 lot of land, Travis, is it really worth them hiring a realtor to sell a $5,000 lot of land? No. They should do that on their own. They don't need me. Okay, or any of us.
Also, I'm not gonna work that hard to get like
Yeah.
$12 from it. So.
Exactly, right? So in the small little things, you can do those on your own. But when it's going to be complicated or you've got a lot of stuff, you got to end up, it's always best to bring a professional in. But do you see kind of what I'm saying is you may personally, you may not have anything, but God forbid something happens to your family and they all of a sudden leave you a lot of money and then you get in an accident. Well, if you don't have a will, there's nobody else it goes to. You gave your entire family's assets to the state.
Mm-hmm.
So your mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandma, whoever's leaving you stuff, all those years of hard work goes to the state.
You can have all my items, Justin. I'll give you my mini fridge and my bed when I pass away.
Everything I own.
Those are my assets. So a transfer of will, it cannot supersede the state laws of dower and curtsy, which is husband and wife. We talked about that in a previous class. And there's legal requirements for making a will. And they're going to be according to the state. It's going to have legal capacity, and it's going to have to be written and signed, sometimes before a witness, who must also sign the form as well. There's another one, more conveyance of descendant property is a transfer of title by descent. It's where your heirs will inherit the property. By the laws of descent, they vary from state to state.
Real quick question. Sheldon,
Yes.
who are your heirs? Are these the things that are growing out of your hair? Is that what we're talking about?
It's my dog.
Who exactly is going to be your heirs? Who all would they be?
My kids when I have them.
Okay, you got your children. Who else? Is your mom and dad heirs?
Yes.
What about your grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle,
Okay.
cousins?
Yeah.
You kind of see what I'm saying here. So your heirs are not just simply the people that are downline of you, if you see what I'm saying.
Younger and your kid.
That's correct. They also can go up as well. So it can end up, they can either go downstream or they can go upstream. So God forbid any of us pass away before our parents, okay?
Yeah.
Then in that situation, if we pass, then our parents inherit what we have, all right? In the situation, if we pass and we leave children downstream, then the children would inherit, okay? Now here's the next question now, Mr. Wyatt. What happens if you never have children? So your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, and your parents leave everything to you, and you have no children. What do you do?
I'm still alive.
And you're still alive. So you now own everything. Everything that everybody's worked has gone to you. There's no other heirs in your family. Does it mean that you have to give your stuff to the state? What can you do?
There's something else.
I mean, I'm right here, man. I'm your friend, right?
He's giving you a tip there.
Give it
Can
out
you
to-
give it to Stefan?
Yeah.
Or does he have to be by blood?
Alright, okay. Will, I can put anyone on the will, right?
And there's what I was
Exactly
looking for.
right.
You can
Yeah.
put anybody, anything, how you want to stipulate it, and you don't have to just give it all to Stefan. You could tell Stefan, hey man, I know you loved my 1960s Mustang. I'm going to leave that to you.
Ooh, please do.
Now, for
Please
Travis, you've been a good buddy of mine. You've helped me out. I'm going to give you $1 million. For Aiden, you know, I've got, I know I have this collection of DVDs or something. I want you to have
Oh, let's go.
There's-
So $1 million is
there's
for
a country
collection of
song.
DVDs.
That country song.
You hear? Go for it.
God is great, beer is good, and people are crazy.
That's right.
Mhm.
Fact.
And now let me ask this question, and I'm going off of what you just said. What if Wyatt thinks people are crazy? Giovanni, are you there, sir? Okay, Giovanni, I'm going to ask you a question. Let's poll them all real quick, Travis. Watch the screen. If you say yes to this question, do thumbs up. If you say no to this question, do thumbs down. So this is for my online class or students. If Wyatt has inherited every single thing from his family, everything, okay? Can Wyatt, since he don't like people, he thinks they're all crazy, like Ms. Vita said, he says, I don't want none of these people to have it. I'm going to leave it to my dog. Can he leave everything to his dog? We're talking houses, cars, everything. Can he leave it to his dog? Thumbs up for yes, thumbs down for no.
We got
Got a couple thumbs up.
Yep, thumbs up.
Got thumbs
Okay,
up.
all
Got
right.
thumbs up for everybody.
Everybody,
Everybody thumb up.
everybody thumbs up.
Can they, Stefan? Can he do that?
Unfortunately, and kind of weird if he did, but yes, he could. He could definitely do that.
Yes, he can. He can actually create a trust.
He can do it to anybody. If he had a turtle,
Yep.
I want to do it to a turtle. He can do it to a turtle. Doesn't matter.
And then it would go to the state.
And well, here's what happens actually. Here's what actually happens. So say he had 2 dogs and he wants to leave them to the dogs. Well, what happens is they will create a trust, put all of the stuff into the trust. They'll sell all the houses and all that. Now, he could stipulate that the dogs have to stay in the house. He could do that. So he could stipulate that the house is not to be sold, and I want my best friend, Mr. Aiden and Miss Vita, they're going to alternate taking care of the dogs. So you stay in the house for 6 months and you take care of the dogs, Aiden. Once you move out in 6 months, Miss Vita moves in, she stays for 6 months. But while they're there taking care of it, they can spend the money as they're choosing so long as they take care of the dogs. We actually had a case like that before.
It'd be a very weird will, but you can do it.
Because here's the whole thing, is this, whose money is it?
Mine.
It's yours.
Do whatever.
So you do whatever you want with that money, so long as you do legal stuff with that money. You see what I'm saying? And you can make the most complicated will if you want to. We had one that a person came into our office and told us, said, I hate my children and I hate my grandkids. I hate them. They don't come see me. They don't visit me. Screw them all. It's exactly what they told the attorney. Screw them all. I don't want any of them, my kids or my grandkids, to get any of my estate. So I want my estate to be put into a trust, and I want this gentleman to manage my trust for the next generation. So on the third, so their great grandkids would be able to begin to get payments, but their children and grandchildren were to get nothing. Been there before.
Some people like that, I guess.
Been there before. And guys and gals, it's happening more and more. Trust me, as your grandparents and your parents get older and you spend less and less and less and less time with them, they get to that point that you don't want to be around them, they'll cut you out of the will. You're not entitled to nothing. Okay?
That's why I hang out with my grandparents.
That's right. That's
The only
exactly
reason-
right.
Only reason.
He's got a 65 Mustang. That's real nice.
Nice.
Sticking around.
Goodness.
So I will tell you all, even if you can't see them every day, call them once in a while. Okay? Just to have contact. Okay? Because guys and gals, not only just do they go quick, if you don't watch yourself, I've seen it many times in my years that they will take the assets and give it to somebody else. And you won't find out about it until they're long gone.
Not just that, karma.
No.
Because your kids are wanting to do it.
Uh-huh.
The kids gonna do it to you.
That's right.
Now remember, for the test, if you die with a will, you die. Anybody know? Yeah, anyone? If you die with a will, you die.
Have you met?
Secured.
With a will.
Shelton, what do you argue if you die with a will? There's a word for it. You die.
Wait, what was the first part of the sentence? I couldn't hear you.
Okay. So if you die with a will, there's a word for it. What is that word? You die blank.
I don't know.
You die willingly? No, not willingly. So if you die with a will, you die testate. And if you die without a will, you die intestate. And you will want to remember that for the test. I did see that on there. Testate is with a will, intestate is not. And they'll say something like that on the test. They say, blank died intestate. What happens with said assets and stuff like that? That's kind of how they'll word it. All right, moving on.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, the person that would leave their estate to a dog, when the dog dies, does the state get the inheritance after that?
Good question. It depends on how detailed the trust is stipulated. If the trust does not go any further and the dog dies, then yes, the state would assume the assets. But most of the time, what they'll end up doing is when the dogs die, they'll give it to like a kennel club or a kennel organization, like maybe even PETA, where they'll transfer any assets that are left over, they'll transfer to that organization.
Can you put in the will like literally stated in there, say to not go to the state ever?
Nope. Nope. Even if you could put it in there, but it ultimately would come down that they're going to take it no matter what. Now, what I always tell people is,
Remember, it cannot supersede state laws.
that's correct.
So
One of the key things that I always tell people, Sheldon, when we used to deal with it, we would always tell them most of the time was put everybody in that you know, and then as a very, very last resort, put in maybe your church or an organization or a friend as the extreme last resort, if you see what I'm saying. So if all those people have passed away, then it's never going to go to the state because it's going to end up going to a friend or an organization or a church or something to that nature, if that makes sense.
all right, so conveyance of a descendant's property continued. Probate proceedings. There's a whole process to that, and the process is to prove or confirm the validity of the will. It determines the precise assets of the deceased person. So it'll say what they have. This is what they have. This is their assets. This is their debts. And it identifies the people to whom the assets are to pass to. So those are all going to be needed for it to be a valid will. It distributes only those assets that do not distribute themselves. So you don't need to probate to distribute real estate held in joint tenancy. So if it's held with two owners, you don't need to distribute that. Plus, you probably have a hard time doing that because they have interest in the property as well. So to have a valid will, all those elements need to be met. Recording is the act of placing documents in public record, and remember that's going to be in the county courthouse where the real estate is actually located. And you have to give notice on that as well. Yes, sir.
Okay. Travis, can you help me here? Okay. I got a question. I'm kind of confused, Travis. So, when you die, Do you have
Correct.
to be, what if I die in Dallas, but my house is here? I have to come all the way back here to probate, right?
No,
Where could I probate at?
anywhere, you can probate where you die.
So I could probate where I
You
die.
can probate in Dallas, yeah.
So if I probate where I die, and then my estate, Miss McKenna, my executrix, she sells my estate in Brazos County.
Yeah.
Okay. The title company is going to search the entire state for my deal, right?
No, they won't find it.
They won't. Where's the title company going to search?
Brazos County.
Why not Dallas?
But why they gotta search Dallas for? They don't know anything about you. They don't know you died in Dallas.
So that means that basically McKenna would have to bring my will down here when she's ready to sell?
Yep.
Oh.
Actually going through that right now. The same thing we're just talking.
Oh.
I have not run into that yet, but apparently.
Yeah, so I'm dealing with that same weird lineage thing I'm dealing with right now. Same sort of deal where title company found out that there was no probate for John, the grandfather's property. So, you know, who knows? That's why all three of them owned it. Turned out that John passed away. They actually lived in Harris County, not in Waller County. They just had this lot in Waller County that they owned. So, title did not find the probate that was actually filed in Harris. And then when the grandmother died, she lived in Galveston. So they didn't find that probate either because that probate was filed in Galveston County. So we searched and found that one there because that's where, after talking to the clients, that's where they were telling me this was all happening at. So had to search Harris County, then had to search Galveston County to find the probates for that one. Because title just searched Waller and then just went, I guess, got nothing and then just moved on. So that's when we found out, hey, cool, we actually do have all these paperwork, so we're good to go. And then they were like, well, I'm glad you found those, but they still don't count because they were all expired and blah, blah, blah. And then that all happens. But yeah, the title would not find it because they would just search. Same thing with like if you look on the CAD, if you're trying to find, that's something we're doing with my dad right now. My dad passed away in December and he owns 2 trailer parks, a couple of rental houses. They lived in Galveston. We used to live in Tomball. He owns 2 trailer parks in Hempstead. No idea why, he just did. But he was a guy who just buy and sell stuff all the time, and so we were starting to hear rumblings of like he owns an apartment complex, and we're like, doesn't shock me, but he did. Like none of us knew that, so we're like trying to find all this stuff out. Problem is, you can't just search my dad's name in Texas and find all the properties he owns. You have to search in Harris County, then you have to search in Waller County, then you have to search in Burleson County, then you have to search in this county, then you have to search in this. So we had to search in each county that we thought there might be something in until we found all the properties that. You know, we tried out. He had a rental house in Montgomery County that we just didn't know about, but just one of the places that he rented out make extra money.
Yeah. So he was basically doing a crap, lost my train of thought.
We actually have probate tomorrow for my dad. That's what I just said.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So yeah, so we're having to deal with all that, but that's the same thing as when we were trying to figure out what things will pass to who. We don't even know what he has because it's just that's just how he was. He's just a guy who didn't talk about himself a lot. And he would just, I was telling Justin, we went out to these mobile homes that we didn't know even existed, and we're talking to people. We had to like drive around Hempstead until I found an old map that he drew in like 2001. That had like 2 street names on it. So we just found those streets and drove down until we saw a trailer park, and we just walked up and we're like, do you rent from Austin Stall? And they were like, yes. And I was like, thank Christ. Okay, here's the letter because I wanted to let you know that we had to like inform them of that he passed and all that stuff. And then we were told by one of the ladies that she got sick. So for 2 weeks he drove down there every day and spent an hour and a half with her and her son to teach her son how to take care of her because she wasn't feeling good or whatever. We didn't even know he owned a trailer park at the time. Like this was just stuff he did.
Did he have a will?
Yeah.
He had a will.
He had a will, but not. It was from a long time ago. So he didn't. He had a will, but it was from like 2008 or something like that. So there was stuff he had that isn't on there. So we're having to for all that stuff too.
Travis was basically doing a title search.
Yeah. So
He was doing a title search in all the counties.
in every county.
Because when you do a title search, it has to be in actual county.
Yeah.
Of which you think it is.
So real quick question, Wyatt, how often should you end up updating your will? every 20 years, 30 years, 50 years.
Sooner than that.
Didn't you say
What'd you say?
5 years?
Every
Five and a
5.
half years.
About every 5 you should update, because every 5 you normally make a major purchase or you'll end up selling something. You need to have a very broad type of will, such as if it's a husband and a wife, it's going to be basic. Everything I have goes to her and everything that he has goes to me. Real simple. Okay. But if you're the last spouse alive, then what should end up happening? You need to update it every 5, because what happens? Families grow, don't they? Children get married, they have kids, and so forth and so on. So in that situation, you need to be able to start doing what? Getting your assets in order so you can start splitting things out.
In those 5 years, you're probably going to either lose an asset or gain an asset.
That's right.
So yeah, recording that is placing the documents in public record. It's putting it in the county courthouse that is located, and there's 2 ways that you can get notice on that. It's constructive notice, which is the legal presumption that the information may be obtained about parcel real estate by an individual through due diligence. Our actual notice is where the information is available and someone has actually been given the information and they know it. So constructive is not, we're not sure we have it. You should be able to find it if you do your due diligence and do some research. The other one is we have it, we have notice. Okay. Priority. So the priority of recording deeds is the order of when the documents or names were recorded. This affects the rights in a parcel of real estate. So they're recorded within the order that they received. Unrecorded documents, some liens may not be recorded. And there's a chain of title where it has record of all previous ownerships of the property in question. If the chain is broken, a gap or cloud in the chain of title will exist. And there's also suit to quiet title. Is a court action intended to establish or settle the title to a particular property, especially when there's a cloud on the title. So a court action intended to establish or to settle something on the property. Yes, Mr. Nobles.
Wait, Ms. V, I got a question. Okay. You work in the legal environment. You mean people don't do what lawyers tell them?
People don't even do what their mother tells them.
You're kidding me. People don't listen?
They don't even listen to themselves.
Golly. So you're telling me that Miss McKenna, I might have sold her my house and I put a lien on it, and I might not went down to the county and filed that debt so that she couldn't sell it again? Man, that's wild, ain't it? You know what's funny though? Is so right now I'm looking at selling my car out here, okay? And sure freaking enough, I've done all the paperwork, and if Carvana had not done their searching, the current bank has not filed their lien on the car. So truthfully, by the state, I own it outright. Yes.
Good for you.
Yes. So they told me I need to notify my bank and let my bank know so that I don't go sell it and get the money.
I'll do that. Yeah, I'll get right on that.
So yeah, but is it my duty to tell them? Honestly, is it my duty? No, it's not. However, can I go sell it knowing that I have a lien on it? No, I cannot. That's a criminal act there. But the whole thing is what I'm saying is, yes, there could be a situation if I was a criminal, I could have sold my car, took the money, and skipped town. Same thing with your house. Sometimes if a person gets financed individually, say that Travis finances you, and Travis does a lot of financing, he may be a one-man show doing all this work like his dad was in the situation, doing a one-man show. He may have forgotten to go file it. But when you go to get ready to sell it to Stefan, if Travis has not filed, what ends up happening? There's that situation that you could still sell it But what can Travis then do? He still can come back after you to get the money. However, Travis lost out on his collateral, so pretty much he's up a
If you
creek
don't
without
pay
a
me,
paddle.
if you don't pay me, I can't go take the property back.
Because it's gone.
You don't have it anymore.
You kind of see how that works. That's why you never want to advise your client not to go record a lien, because all that means is that if I was a crooked person, I could go and sell a property to McKenna and go sell the same property to Wyatt, make the money off of both of them because there's not been any documentation filed with the county. So if anybody goes and does a title search, they're not going to see that it's actually encumbered by anything because it's not recorded. See how that works? So you got to be very careful, but it is not your duty to notify them, if you see what I'm saying. So again, they're probably going to get all this straightened out because they always do, but you never want to do something like that, if that makes sense. Good?
He was saying,
And real
title
quick,
search.
go to the one that you were just on, the slide you were just on, real quick. See that suit to quiet title?
Yeah.
So, Ms. Sheldon, what type of deed is used in a suit to quiet title? They both start with a Q.
Quick claim.
We got it.
Quick claim?
You had Tourette's there for a minute, but you got it.
Quick.
But again, yes, it is quit claim is used in a suit to quiet title because what it is there's one person that has an interest and we need just that interest transferred over. Nothing else. No warranties or anything to that nature.
Right.
Make sense? Go for
And
it.
title search, like I was telling you earlier, you search for the abstract and title. It's an examination of all public records to determine whether any defects exist in the chain of title. And you can go do this yourself. Anybody can actually go do this. You can go to county courthouse and pull anybody's file if you wanted to. And when you do, you will see an abstract and title, which is just going to be a summary of the report of the title search. And it's prepared by an abstract. Yeah, but it has to be in the county of which it is. Like he was telling you earlier, he had to go all over the place to find some properties. Okay, marketable title. Marketable title, a seller is required to deliver to the buyer at closing the marketable title. And to be a marketable title, it must disclose serious defects and not depend on doubtful questions of law or fact to prove its validity. So it's just saying there's nothing seriously wrong with the property. And also to not expose a purchaser to the hazard of litigation or threaten the quiet enjoyment of the property. So marketable title, you cannot threaten the quiet enjoyment that we talked about earlier of the property. Convince a reasonably well-informed and prudent purchaser acting on business principles and with knowledge of the facts of their legal significance that the purchaser could sell or mortgage the property at a later time. So to have marketable title, all of these must be met. More on marketable title. Title that is not marketable can be transferred, but it may be limited or restricted ownership. Buyer cannot be forced to accept the offer.
Aiden, that is yours with Mike, by the way. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So in some situations, you may obtain a ownership of property through tax sale. So McKenna, say you go to a tax sale and you buy a property at a tax sale, they're not guaranteeing that that property or that title is good. They're just saying from the time that we've had it, we haven't done anything to cause issues with it. So in that particular situation it may not be marketable, but it can still be transferred. It's just going to be transferred with like a special warranty deed. Does that make sense? Everybody good?
So is that the special deed?
That's the special warranty. Yes, ma'am. Because it's saying that we're not putting 100% warranty to it. It's only within our certain time. Now, some places use what's called a sheriff's deed, and that's basically even a step lower than a special warranty deed. Okay?
So lower than quitclaim?
No, quitclaim is your very bottom.
Very, very bottom.
Mm-hmm. So you normally have general, special warranty, bargain and sale / sheriff's deed, and then quitclaim.
All right.
Make Makes sense?
And so with marketable title, you also have an opportunity to cure defects. That'll be a set amount of time that you have to do that. And now proof of ownership. Proof of ownership may be established by a certificate of title, but it will not reveal unrecorded liens or rights of parties in possession. So proof of ownership is just showing we have the property here. It's proof of our ownership of the property. Oops. All right, more on public records. A title insurance issued as an owner's policy or mortgagee lender, a policy under which the insured is protected from losing arises. Hold on. Justin, you know me out here.
Go ahead, finish reading.
Insures against hidden defects and identifies exclusions that include readily apparent title defects, zoning, and others.
So let's see here. Let's break it down.
Yeah, I need to.
So title insurance is going to be issued as an owner policy or the lender policy. Now, so what this means is we want to make certain that if Miss Vita, if she ends up, if you own your property, remember we're trying to do that warranty. Make sure you really owned it all the way and there's no issues with it. So we can issue a owner's policy to you, or we can also protect the lender. Why are we not protecting the buyer? Because the buyer is not fronting all the money. Who is? The lender. So you're going to have either the owner or the mortgagee, which is the lender policy, okay? And under it, which the insured is protected from losses arising from those defects. So there could be gaps on title. There could end up being encumbrances. There could be liens on it. There could be many things. In Travis's situation, they could end up, there's back taxes that weren't reported properly. So it protects against these situations in the past. Does that make sense? So what they're talking about in that situation is it protects against all of these. Now, either the seller can get a policy or the lender, but there is no such thing, quote unquote, as a borrower policy. It's either going to be an owner policy or a mortgagee's policy. Now, once everything's all said and done and it's paid for, well, it's probably been 30 years and nobody's objected. So by then you don't need the policy anymore, if you see kind of what I'm saying. But those are your different types of policies. Pretty good?
Yeah, you explained that way better than I could have.
It's fine.
All right, well, that's actually our last slide for the night.
Well, we did want to let you know, me and Travis just talked, and Mr. Wyatt.
Whatever he says, it's not true.
Yeah, just ignore what I
Yeah.
was going to say now.
Wyatt said
Especially
he wants-
whatever he says
Yeah.
to Wyatt.
Yeah. He's going to buy us some with this black card. Is that what you're going to
No, he wants to stay another 3 hours.
Oh.
I guess why.
Well, that covers it for this evening. We'll see you all guys tomorrow. Y'all have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
I said she would.
Oh, she wants to stay 3 hours too?
No, the letters.
Oh, the letters.